I'm Teresa Deischer, and I am a scientist, the president and founder of Sound Choice Pharmaceutical Institute. So a vaccine consists of a virus. The virus is a long chain of nucleic acid, and nucleic acid is what makes up our DNA, what makes up our RNA, and it's too long to make in a test tube. So we mimic nature's way of propagating or growing viruses, and we infect cells. What there is in the final product, when we use cells that have been made from an aborted fetus, are human fetal DNA fragments and cellular debris, and in quite high levels. MMR, chickenpox, Zostavax, that's shingles from Merck, all hepatitis A containing vaccines, Pentacell, the polio component of that, and one of the rabies vaccines. What you have are procurement companies who are working side by side, literally, with the abortionist, and typically right in the building. So what happens with the heart is that it will actually go into this contracture, and once that happens, you can't get good data from it. You can't get cells that will beat and work, so the tissue really becomes useless. It has to be flushed and put into a preservative that stops the heart within 2 minutes. The baby has to be born alive, or they're not going to be able to get the heart and get it rushed and get it in the blocked solution, right, so that they can preserve it for processing. Well, a fetus born intact is definitely dead when they cut its heart out. They're not given any anesthetic. I would never do this to a mouse or a rat. I would not be surprised that we might get some hard numbers, not in the so distant future, that abortions are delayed later and later so that the scientists and the procurement companies can get better late-term tissue. Well, it's not an old technique. Some of the cell lines that they're using for vaccine manufacture were made back in the 70s. They're starting to kind of poop out, so they actually have to make new cell lines to replace those. On a daily basis, aborted babies are harvested and exploited for biomedical research, and the practice continues because we close our eyes to the ethics of vaccines. And when we do that to people who don't share our moral outlook, there's no difference between an abortion done in 1970 and an abortion done yesterday. We absolutely know that the levels of DNA in these vaccines get into our children's bloodstream at levels that are above, sometimes 100-fold higher than levels of fetal DNA that has been demonstrated to massively activate the immune response, causing a general cytokine release, and cytokines are toxins. And we are giving children 10 to 100-fold higher concentrations. We absolutely know toll-like receptor 9 will be activated. The pharmaceutical companies have never measured cytokine release, and they've never measured that acute autoimmune response. Absolutely, there are alternative cell lines that we can use to manufacture the vaccines. We can use animals, and animal models are actually better because adult animals are more similar to the human if you choose the right animal and you do a correct model than looking at fetal material is. At a minimum, read a bit of the package insert and you will see the acknowledged side effects that could happen to your normal, healthy child. Do a risk evaluation. Is your child at risk for this disease? If they were to get the disease, what are the consequences of getting the disease? Is it really that bad, or could we medically manage it very well so my child would be fine? I would encourage all parents to ask their doctors how immunity is caused by a vaccine. And if your doctor doesn't talk to you about toll-like receptors, then your doctor either knows nothing about immunity or virology, that's vaccinology, or they're not telling you the truth, and you should get a doctor who knows what they're talking about or tells you the truth.